The restaurant waitlist called his name. The table was for two, not us. Hook. The hostess said his name into the microphone, soft as silk and clear as betrayal. Table for Jordan, she called, eyes skimming the room until they found him. He froze beside me with the guilt of a man who hadn't invited his husband to dinner. The waitlist app on my phone buzzed the same second, alerting me that your party is ready. My name wasn't on it. The reservation apparently had been shared from his account, and the note read, "Anniversary, not ours." I'm Daniel, 35. I write copy that convinces people that monthly subscriptions are care instead of habit. My husband is Jordan. He designs lobbies that trick strangers into behaving. 4 years married, we have become extraordinary at decency. Coffee where a hand will find it, the good glasses even for water because ceremony should earn its keep. A kiss on the doorframe like a receipt we never contest. We have been less extraordinary about heat. Heat prefers risk. We prefer schedules. Party of two? The hostess asked. She looked at me, then at him, then at the table map as if it might offer discretion. He didn't speak. That was the new thing, silence where performance used to be. I'll take it, I said. We're both here. I smiled like someone tipping a god. The table was tucked against a window that framed the city like an accomplice. 2 menus lay in wait, folded like alibis. A candle rehearsed being innocent. Across from us sat Absence, dressed in anticipation. He lifted his water glass before words. I was going to tell you, he said, the sentence men keep under their tongues like candy. It was supposed to be. Her, I asked, him. Him, he said, honest at last. Caleb from the design firm, he stayed late Tuesday. We stayed later. You kissed him, I said, not as question but as labor. Twice, he said, refusing rehearsal. Once because I wanted to be chosen without auditioning. Once because I wanted to hurt us hard enough to move. Both times I thought of you. Both times I kept going. The candle leaned toward us like a witness. The restaurant hummed with the mercy of strangers' laughter. I placed my palm on the square of his back where lungs remember their union job. He startled. We breathed. Clean enough for cameras, explicit enough that the window learned our names. I don't want to audition for your forgiveness, he said into the menu. I want to be chosen and then worth it. Then eat, I said. If we're paying for the table, we'll also use the light. We ordered, we chewed, we swallowed. Each bite was an affidavit, each sip of water a perjury. At one point he reached across the table, not for my hand but for the knife. He cut his steak in clean, even movements, the same skill he uses on fabrications for strangers. The intimacy of precision nearly undid me. Halfway through dessert, the man himself walked in. Caleb, white shirt rolled to the degree statutes should consider, hair styled to look unstyled, smile that could be forgiven by fluorescent light and worshipped under anything warmer. He saw us, saw the table, saw the candle doing its unpaid labor. He approached without cowardice. Caleb, he said, and the name was enough introduction. He didn't offer a hand. He stood in the space Absence had been keeping warm. Do you want me to leave? Yes, I said, because speed is mercy when furniture is ready to testify. Thank you, I added, because my mother is a religion and I won't renounce her in a restaurant. He nodded, brushed past with heat polite enough to be weather, and touched Jordan's knuckles with 2 fingers. Punctuation, not claim. Then gone, swallowed by the city that invents stories faster than we can audit them. The candle sighed. Jordan looked at me with a mouth that refused to be clever. He told me to be honest, he said. He told me you'd prefer the spectacle to the silence. He's right, I said. I prefer daylight to mold. We paid, we left. The city gave its affidavit, sirens rehearsing remorse, a bus deciding, someone laughing like survival. We walked home because walking is the only ritual that doesn't require reservation. At our door, I pulled blue painter's tape from the junk drawer and made a square on the kitchen window. Above it, with the pencil that lives by the calendar, I wrote 8:07. 4 minutes of breath with his palm on my back. 3 minutes of inventory, 3 facts, 2 fears, 1 want. No prosecution. Water in the good glasses at 8:20 because small sounds prevent large ones. Tonight, I said, and every night, if you miss 8:07, you make another. He nodded like a man who has accepted employment. At 8:07, his palm found its post. My lungs obeyed like good employees too tired to unionize. We stood, we breathed, we didn't narrate. The city outside tried to audition, we didn't hire it. At 8:12, inventory. His facts. He'd texted Caleb ending it. He'd removed his number from the work group. He'd blocked Friday nights with a calendar event called Make Heat at Home. His fears were untheatrical. That silence feels easier than invention, that I might choose dignity over him. His want was me with my full name, no jokes. At 8:20, water in the good glasses made its hymn. The erotic part wasn't the restaurant or the candle or the white shirt rolled one button too far. It was obedience done with tenderness, a mouth at the place under his jaw where my name keeps a rent-controlled room. It wasn't tidy. Twice that week he was late and the old monologue in my throat powdered its nose and asked for a microphone. I made it sit in the hall and listened to the refrigerator sermon on patience. Once I saw Caleb outside a cafe, tie loosened to the illegal degree, laughing with a man whose earrings looked like punctuation. He lifted 2 fingers, weather, not invitation. I nodded because spite is expensive and I intend to retire loved. We fought, not with volume but with precision. I asked why applause still dressed as oxygen in his lungs. He asked why I polish dignity until it slips. I said I'm tired of writing copy for us that reads like compliance. He said he forgot he could ask me for noise. We traded short, heavy sentences until they did their work. He said Caleb's name without flinching. He said mine like a metronome until the inch behind my ribs clocked in again. The restaurant emailed a survey. How was your evening with us? I typed. Your candle is complicit. Your water is honest. We're moving our reservations to the kitchen. I didn't send it. I read it to him at 8:20. He kissed the corner of my mouth like feedback should always be physical. Customs followed. At the border of home, when one of us enters, he says, I'm in, because present is sexier than sorry when it's honest. The hallway light is on a sensor now. It wakes when we do. If one of us is late, he texts present place. The lock clicks like a paid witness. We tip it with patience. One night we visited a lobby he'd finished, marble still rehearsing, brass still nervous. He tuned a pendant until strangers would feel generous standing under it. Walk with me, he said, which in our language means see me without applause. We stepped across the floor and our reflections pretended to belong to statues. He put my hand on a dimmer and told me when to stop. Clean. Explicit enough for stone to know our names. Relapses found us like weather. A text that arrived with too much midnight in it. A morning when I dodged inventory with a joke. Each time the square was there. Some nights it was only breath. Some nights the room blurred and the window forgave us for remembering why people keep rent-controlled promises. People ask, in bathroom lines and under misbehaving streetlights, who the villain was. They want me to say a man with forgiving wrists, or a restaurant with forgiving candles, or a husband who outsourced urgency to a wait list. The truth humiliates us evenly, which is why it helps. The villain was the version of us that treated heat like an errand and romance like a feature. The miracle was repetitive and small. Knock on our own door. Say where we are, Place a palm where breath listens. Count to 60, try again. The erotic part wasn't dessert for two or a robe half open in a photo. It was water in the good glasses clicking like a language we finally agreed to learn. It was my name in his mouth at the windows blue, spoken like rent paid on time. It was his hand on my back in public quick. Nothing for cameras, everything for the animal in me who prefers to be found, not guessed. Last night a smaller envelope arrived. Plain card stock stamped with the restaurant seal. Inside was a handwritten note. Next reservation, table for Daniel plus Jordan. They had corrected the file. Bureaucracy had decided to believe in us. He slid the card under the fruit magnet on the fridge and said, "For once, they got it right." At 8:07, the square did its job. Tonight at 7:58, I'll set my phone face down like manners are still a technology worth installing. At 8:07, his palm will find the back of the heart and the tape will remember why it was hired. If we miss, we'll try again. 8, 17, 10, 10, 11, 11, whenever Mercy clocks in. Somewhere a hostess is calling out the wrong two names. Our door knows our knock. It keeps opening when we ask it to.